Hello, Richard Beach here with SonicState.com, and I am looking at the adorable new Jim Dunlop Crybaby Mini. As you can see, it's absolutely tiny, and it's just what it says on the tin really, a very miniature crybaby that you can fit on your pedal board without taking up too much room. It's smaller than a sort of standard size Boss pedal, and it weighs a lot less than the original Crybaby. So let's get it off the floor and take a look at the pedal itself close up. So two very important features. First of all, you get this with the pedal, which is a torque clutch that allows you to actually change the resistance of the pedal when you're rocking back and forth, which is quite handy. And also if I unplug and flip over, then you can see the insides of the pedal, and just here we have a switch, three-way switch, that allows you to switch from basically three different modes of the pedal. So we've got a low frequency range mode, a mid-range frequency mode, and then just your standard crybaby sound, which is what I was using at the beginning of the review. So let's go to the low resistance sound and hear what that sounds like. So bridge pickup humbucker on the Stratocaster to start off with. Okay, and next, bridge and middle. And now middle on its own. Middle and neck. And now neck. So what I'm going to do now is drive the amp a little bit harder and do some lead stuff rather than rhythm, show you what that sounds like. So bridge pickup on the humbucker bridge pickup on the Stratocaster. One thing I should say is that it's really difficult on this setting not to do the wah face. So you have to sort of bite your lip, which is a pro tip, I guess, for not doing it, because otherwise you just end up like this, which doesn't look very cool. So I just go, and this, it's sort of like it's there. If I'm trying to do it, but I'm stopping myself from doing it by biting my lip. So here we go, bridge pickup and middle pickup. So Right, now we're going to go to the mid-focused sound. So as you can hear, this is sort of a more vintage sound. There's actually a smaller frequency range, and it seems to be angled slightly more towards the low end as well, so you get that. Very throaty sound. I was about to say a deep throaty sound, but that would not be a great phrase to use. Although now I've used it anyway, so what the hell. It's great for that kind of 60s lounge, like kind of jazz influence. Just makes me want to be a mod and just kind of buy a Vespa and go to Brighton and have fights with rockers. So I'm going from the bridge pickup now to bridge and middle together. This is what that sounds like. Okay, so I really love that. It's really good for clean, and it's kind of got a bit more character about it, I guess. But if I just crank the amp a little bit harder, it does get a bit scratchy when you go onto a driven sound. I'll show you what that sounds like now. So what I would do is go clean probably on that setting, and probably the first setting I was playing do more distortion stuff. But then you have the problem where you have to take the back panel off. You have to take 4 screws off to actually get in there and change the setting that you're on. And I've done that. It takes about 3 minutes to take the panel off, change the setting, get the back panel back on again, the back plate. And that's not really ideally something you can do in a show. So if you're playing this in a show, you pretty much have to use one setting the whole way through, because there's no way to access that switch without taking the back plate off. You could gaffer the back plate on, which is like what I expect most people will do and what I would probably do. But it's a shame that they built this amazing feature into the new Crybaby, which is affordable as well. It's $99, and actually to use it to its full extent, you have to spend 3 minutes messing around with it, basically. So, speaking of messing around with it, let's go to the next setting. So, bridge pickup. Can't not play that riff when you're messing around with wire. Bridge and neck. Sorry, I meant bridge and middle then, and now just middle. Middle and neck. And now neck. And I'll just show you what it sounds like driven on the bridge pickup. So to highlight the differences between the three settings, what I'm going to do now is just play exactly the same thing, but just start on the low one, then go to the mid-range focus one, then go to the modern sounding one. So here we go. This is the mid-range focus setting now. And this is the standard Crybaby sound, the one with the largest frequency range. Okay, so you've got three different sounds there. The differences are subtle, but they're there. The most recent one I played, much larger frequency range, and I think very good for just rocking back and forth on the wire and playing solos and doing stuff like that. The mid-range focus one, which is the second one, it can sound smooth on a clean setting. It can get a bit scratchy on distortion, but it's a lot of fun to play around with. And the low one, with the lower frequency range that's actually slightly more focused on the low end, I think that's really fun for just getting a clean sound on the go, finding a sweet spot, and just kind of playing around with that sweet spot a little bit, but not rocking too far forward, not rocking too far back. So yeah, there's kind of a lot in this tiny little pedal, lots you can do. It feels very musical, it feels like you can use it as an effect, modulation effect that you're actually in control of. So like plugging an expression pedal into a flanger or a phaser or something like that. So in conclusion, how does a Crybaby Mini work? It works perfectly well. In fact, when I saw the size of it at NAMM this year, I was kind of dubious about how well it would work because you're used to having that kind of shoe-sized pedal to play around with. But if you actually put your heel on the Crybaby Mini and just rock back and forth, then it feels really natural to use because you kind of don't miss having the rest of it there because the weight of your foot is on your heel. Actually, a lot of people tend to use the ball of their feet when they're playing around with wire, so it's a little bit of an adjustment, but actually it doesn't feel too odd. As I've already mentioned, having to take off the back plate to access the settings and change the settings is a little bit annoying, and I could see most people just sticking on the modern Crybaby sound rather than playing around with the other two because it's just such a, is a bit of a hassle to get in there basically, and not everybody carries around a screwdriver with them. But yeah, for $99, it is incredible value for money. Around the same price as a standard Crybaby, a lot lighter. I actually was given the other day by a good friend of mine an old Crybaby, and it's just so heavy. And even the modern ones are still fairly heavy. And just having it a lot smaller, a lot lighter, it can fit on your pedal board, takes up less space. It's handy. So that's great. It sounds just pretty much exactly the same as its big brother. So there's nothing really to worry about there. So I don't really see what the drawback is with it in comparison to the standard sized Crybaby. Just like I've said a few times already, not being able to access the toggle switch for the settings is a bit of a shame. But there you go, great value for money and a really cool wah pedal, really cool solution if you're looking for a pedal that fits on your board and doesn't make it really heavy to lumber around. Wow.